Hello everyone, welcome back to Coding with West Pi. My name is West Pi and today we are going to be doing a Python tutorial on iteration. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that bell notification to be informed on what the Script Squad is doing. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, let me know what you want, what you need, what I can help you with. Also to make sure that this channel continues to grow. As you can see, it has been growing well and it's been growing quick. So, without further ado, we are going to jump into iteration. Now, if you have not been covering the series thus far, you may be a little bit behind and you're not going to be completely sure what I'm doing here. But for the most part, I'm going to explain it as much as possible so that even those who are trying to just jump in and know enough or maybe don't know enough can kind of see where I'm going here. So, iteration in its simplest terms is what allows Python to be able to, and I use this term to walk through a sequence of values and to be able to actually capture those values. Okay, so essentially it's turns, it's loops. That's what we're doing. We're doing loops through the data, and we're able to actually get the data by looping through it. Instead of just doing, let's start out with a list one. Okay, and it's going to have some values, um, you know, and let's see. Okay, let's do some values right there, and we're also going to do a tuple. Okay, and some more values, and we're going to do a dictionary, and that's also going to have some values. Uh, you can kind of see where I'm going here with this. Okay, so we have some keys, we have some values, we have our typical built-in Python structures. Okay, we have a list, we have a tuple, we have a dictionary. Okay, we've covered these already. They each have separate videos, so that way you're not confused about what we're using here or why we're using stuff here. Also, we're going to create a string. Uh, okay, and so these are iterable elements in Python. What that means is that literally we can go through these by looping through them. Okay, so think of how we index, right? So if we do a equals list 1, and it's going to be at location 0, and then we're going to print a. Okay, we've talked about indexing as well, so you should know this by now. All right, so we can index like this, right? We can get that value, we can assign it to a new variable, and so that means that it's outside of the actual structure. Okay, we've captured that value. Now, what happens if we want to capture all these values, right? Like that's a little bit more tricky. Okay, so here's how we do this. We set up a loop, okay, by doing this. We do for I, okay, and we have our keyword for, and we're creating a new variable on the fly, and it's called I, and it doesn't have a data type assigned to it. However, this is going to be the iterator. It's going to be the element which is being passed through this list. It's saying I, 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 I. Okay, so and it's going to capture those values. Okay, so stick with me here, and we're going to do uh, in we'll just do list 1 for now, okay, and then we're going to print I. Okay, so just like when we're doing our else and our if statements and we're doing our conditionals, now we're doing iteration. Okay, so you got to use those colons, put them at the end of the statement, go on the offside, and then you will get the output. Oh, there we go. It would help if I ran the module. There we go. So there are the values, okay, and you can see that we've looped through that. Okay, we got 200 first, 4, 5, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and so we can also let's see, we can do this, C, and we use this as well, which is going to increment C plus 1, so that way we know where we're at. Okay, we can add a counter variable. Okay, and you could really use okay, so this wouldn't work in this case, but there is a case where we can do something like this. Actually, hold on. We can, okay, here's what we can do. We can do C equals 0, okay? And so we have our counter variable right there, for C for counter. Now we can run it, okay? And now you can see each position in the loop, okay? So we're saying position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4, position 5. However, to get this completely correct, we would need to start at -1. Okay, we need to start at -1, and that would actually get us our locations. Okay, so you would see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and so that's how you can actually tell exactly where it is in the list, right? Because if you want to know how many iterations you've done, you want to know, if you'd start at 0, you could say, okay, I've done this many iterations. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops through this to get the values, okay? So that's a very simple for loop, okay? And it doesn't seem as crazy as it seems. It's relatively simple. Now, if we want to find out how many loops we did without having to create a counter variable and all of that, well, there's another option. We can do this. And this is where we're going to go into our range and our length function, okay? For I in range, we have to call the range function and the length function. We have to call the range function on the length function, and then take this and call it all on this list, okay? Again with our with our colon, and then we need to print I, okay? There we go. And this time we can see we got this many iterations, okay? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 iterations, 5 loops to get all of these values, okay? And we can apply this to any of them, right? It's not just that, okay? Oh, tuple 1. Okay, right there. Again, we can do this again. All right, and this one's a little different because all we got is our keys, right? We didn't get our values, right? That's all we got. We didn't get our keys and our values, so we'll come back to that one. No worries. All right, and so this is saying how many steps it took to get through the entire string. Okay, remember we had a string right here, so what this is saying is that this is 17 characters long, or 18 technically, okay, 0 to 17. And if we did this, all right, and we run it, and so this way it's going to print it out, and they'll be as singular values, okay? Right, it's just singular values. It's no longer just a string. It's just a single character now, okay? So Now we're going to jump right back up to this dict1. Now you notice how we did for I in dict1, did 1, 2, 3. Okay, gave us our key values, range len dict1, okay, and you'll notice this, it gives us how many iterations it took, 3 iterations, but we're not getting these values, okay? So if you remember before, we used our methods, our dictionary methods, and so we're going to have to do this again. So this time we're going to change it up. I'm going to do key value in dict1 dot, and we're going to call our items method. Again, if you've been watching the tutorials up till now, you will know about that method because we covered that in the previous videos. Okay, and then let's see. Oh, the key value. Okay, and there we go. So now we have our key and our values. We've unpacked that dictionary. Okay, and so now we know. Okay, great. It took us, we got our different keys. We got our different values. Let's actually set up our counter again, right? Our counter equals -1, so that way we're always at the end. And then we'll do counter plus equals increment 1, and then we're going to do counter. Okay, just like that, right? Not that difficult. Relatively simple, and so that's a very easy way to know you've done this many loops, you got this key, you got this value. If you had a big old dictionary, you would want to know like the position of the values, right? Because this is just giving you key value, but if you need to know the position, because this also gives you position, it tells you how many loops, so 3 loops and position 1. Position 2, position 1, or position 3, I guess. It all depends. It's relative. So, this is probably the simplest way to explain iteration, show it, and how you can actually loop through data. Okay. Now, there's another type of loop, and me personally, I'm not a big fan of this loop. However, it is a part of Python, so we're going to talk about this right now. So what you have is this other keyword right here, while. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a couple variables, and we're going to do x equals 5 and y equals 25. Oh, not 205, 25. So, and now we're going to do a nice little setup here. Now, not while or wilk or whatever that was, while I is less than or equal to, or x is less than y. Now, while loops are funny because you can really cause yourself to have an infinite loop. Here, let me show you. Right here. This will give you an infinite loop. Okay, and this is just gonna roll on forever. Okay, this is not gonna stop. So while loops can be tricky. Okay, if you use them incorrect, then it's not very fun and it's kind of pointless even. That's why I prefer to use for loops, as the control level on them is much higher. It's easier to get your iterations nicely figured out and everything. But So, but for now, I will show you the syntax of how you can actually build a while loop and get out of it. Um, so while x is less than y, counter plus equal, plus equal 1, okay? We're going to do x plus equal 1, okay? And then we're going to print x, okay? We're also going to print our counter, so that way we know how many times this has actually been done. Now we're going to check, and we did conditionals already. If x is equal to exactly y, print x, and we're going to do our counter again. And then we're going to use our other keyword here, which is break, okay? So what this is going to do, it's saying counter plus 1, it's going to increment by 1, x increment by 1. It's going to display x and the counter variable. If x is exactly equal to 25, so it should only take 20 iterations, 20 loops, then print x and the counter variable and then break the loop. Okay, that's what should happen here. And if it doesn't, well then there's an issue. Okay, but as you can see, there's no issue and it worked perfectly, right? So 20 loops right there, 0 to 19. We have all the count, right? So that's essentially how you would structure out a while loop, okay? You have to have a way for this first condition to be able to break outside of this condition, this element, okay? It's a little tricky, right? Like with a for loop, it's for I in range, 10, print I. Okay, print I, boom. There you go. Simple, you can control the amount of iterations seamlessly. Which is also interesting because we can also do a few more things with this range function, okay? Because range actually takes some different parameters. It does not only need one argument, it can take actually 3. You'll see right here, okay? 3 arguments. Start, stop, and step. Okay, so start, it's going to say, what number do you want to start at? Let's start at 2. Stop, what number do we want to stop at? Let's stop at 100. Step, how frequently do we want to do this increment? Well, we want to do it every 5. So let's see what it does. Alright, and print I. Okay, and there you go. So you can step right through this. You can do it in the exact range that you want, the values that you want. There's a lot that's possible with for loops, and they're very nice. They're very pretty. They work very well and allow for things that while loops do, but they're just not as effective. And I highly recommend you just do while loops or for loops, and that's essentially it, in terms of how to use iteration with Python. There's other things, you could use it for like a sorting algorithm or something like that. But right now, we're not really going to go into stuff like that as it would be a bit too complex and just make it overly complicated. Also, since we're on this real quick, and I don't think we're going too late yet, I want to talk about something that's interesting that we've been talking about a bit. I want to come on back to this, and we can print the dir. Okay, and I want you all to remember this because this is a very, very, very useful combination of functions. Okay, super useful. Okay, and we're gonna do one. Does that need one more? It does. Okay, and so you can see right here we're getting our methods. Okay, but we're also getting these dunder methods. Okay, and these, it gets a little more complicated, but just for those who are a little bit more advanced, we're gonna do something a little fun here. Okay, our start is going to be 0, our stop is going to be 100, and we're going to step every 2. Okay, and then we're going to print a dot index of 6. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay, and you can see that we can use some of these things. Okay, we can use the index, we can use the step, the start. Okay, no, step. This is how you would use some of these other methods and attributes. Also, if you want to use like a dunder method, right, which we haven't really covered those at all, but this is again for those who are a bit more advanced. They'll understand what's going on here. So, and this essentially is just checking if it contains 5, right? You know, so there's a lot here. Like also how I said a while back ago that functions are first class objects. Well, this is using a function as a first class object. We're assigning a function to a variable, and then we're able to call methods on that variable. Okay, and we can print out that data, and we can use that range function with a little bit more expanded functionality. Okay, so that is going to be it for right now. So I hope that you learned something for those who are brand new to Python, or even those who are a little bit more advanced. Maybe you saw something that you're like, oh, hey, I could use that. So until the next one, make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment. I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers within the month. I think we'll hit it. We only got 15 more to go. So until then, happy coding and see you later.